Darn you, StreamYard, making it from a 1 button to a 2 button.
It's making me like work hard. I don't want to work hard. I want to work
Right. How dare you?
non-existently. I don't want to
How
work at
dare
all.
you? Hello, everybody. Welcome to
Hello.
TBR Lowdown. Are any of you not just readers, but also travelers, notebook junkies? Because we are.
Sorry, I'm distracted looking at leather.
Ooh, let us know if you journal. What do you use? We need to know these things.
We do need
to
to
know
know
these
these things.
things. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's very important.
It's incredibly
When,
important.
when I think tomorrow I'm going to send you a photo of like all these stationery stuff I purchased in the last 2 weeks.
Please do.
It's a little insane and I love it.
Please send it to me. Send it with links. I just want. Naomi, I want.
I even bought one of those little photo printers, the HP.
Oh, I have one of those.
What is it called? I
I have
love
a
it.
sprocket.
That's what I have, a sprocket.
Mm-hmm.
I bought one of those. I was like, oh yeah, because really my traveler's notebook is that's my daily functional planner, but I'm gonna get into some memory keeping, so that's why I need like a something separate for that. So anyway, we read and we love our planners, so that's that.
We do love our planners. And then
Yes.
this is going to turn into such a problem. I'm just like so deep. And then I'm like, how do you like I know that you can use the little like letters, the little things to like emboss
Yeah.
whatever on there. But
Uh-huh.
how do you get like the gold in there? Do I just put gold leafing in? Do I have to use any glue? Like
Ooh.
I have so many questions, but like let's just see
Ooh.
if I can construct a Louise Carmen dupe and then take
Yeah.
it from there, you know?
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh
All
yes.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
I need to stop looking at the
Yeah.
leather and come back to you. I'm
Right.
back up
Also,
here.
sidebar:
Okay.
Kyra and I are now registered to attend the DC Pen Show,
Oh, nice.
which is going to be happening like 11 minutes from my house.
Very
So in
nice.
Falls Church. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited, and she's excited. Okay, moving on. Hello,
Moving
welcome to TBR
on.
Lowdown.
Hello. Hello. Also, apparently stationary
Stationary
podcast.
journalers, yeah, and as well. Yeah, that's right. That's
Mhm.
right. Get on board, people. We have more than one obsession.
Everybody should have more than one obsession.
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. Whatever's going to give you the thrill. All right. Well, what have you been reading, or what have you recently finished?
I am currently making my way through um The Adventures of Miss Barbara Pym, which is a biography that
Mm,
came out not too long ago. I'm about yeah, so I'm more than halfway through.
okay.
We are in the war years. It's interesting. I mean, I always think of her as like kind of prim in a way. And I think
Mm-hmm.
there is a little bit of that like upper middle class British stiffness, but she's also like incredibly just like silly and promiscuous,
Mm,
and she has
mm,
a very interesting life. Um and yeah, I'm just really enjoying this. And I went down to get my thing because one of the thing being one of my many traveler's notebooks, which if you're not watching the video, you didn't see me put in the camera. So
She has 4 people. She has
do
4.
I
I
have
just need
four?
you all to know that.
I don't have four.
Yeah. Didn't you send me a photo that has 4 in it?
Oh, maybe. Oh, I do. I have a fourth one for work.
You have 4.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
so in this one, I have like my little quote book, my journal, which you don't need to know about. And then I started doing this. I did it with Sonora Bab, and I started one for Pim, and then I sort of tucked it away. Just a little thing of just kind of like a mini biography for myself, like as a
Yeah.
little research project. So I've been
Yeah.
adding to this now that I'm reading it as I'm going along. So
Oh, I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's pretty simple. I mean, I could make it fancier, but I
Yeah.
just have a little like thermal printer that I just print out some pictures, and um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just hoping this will be a nice little collection of random female author bios, like that
I
just
love it.
comes
I
together.
love it.
So that's what my little orange book is, uh, and I think it's
I love that.
goes really nicely with my little Pim. I didn't mean these to
It
match, but look at them;
does.
they look so cute together. So that's what I'm
It
reading. That's what I'm
does.
doing. What are you
Okay.
reading? What are you doing?
I'm all for that. One of the books I'm reading is called Scam Goddess: Lessons from a Life of Cons, Grifts, and Schemes by Lacey Mosley, host of the Scam Goddess podcast, which I've never heard of before, and I've never heard of her. But I gotta tell you, I'm a handful of chapters in on this book, and Lacey is cracking me up. I mean, she is a ball of fun. Let me tell you something. She's got great personality. Her stories are just top tier, and I'm having a really good time reading about things that have happened to her in her life. And so she starts out giving us the story about when she was 5 and how she went missing. And it is one of the funniest stories I have ever read. I love how she brings everything together, and I love her playful attitude. And she talks about how when she was 5, like she wanted to be, she knew she wanted to be an actress. And so she would always find these ways to kind of like quote unquote con or scam her mother into like paying for acting classes for her. And you know the stories kind of lead up to the part where she really delves into the art of being a scam goddess. So I can't wait to get to that part, but these stories are so entertaining. And it's just a very light read. It's just light and airy and funny, and I've laughed through every story so far that I've read. I mean, just a nice hearty chuckle out loud. So having a good time. Scam Goddess: Lessons from a Life of Cons, Grifts, and Schemes by Lacey Mosley. I said to myself that I'm not going to actually Google her or look up the podcast until I'm done with the book.
Oh,
So that'll
interesting.
be a little bit of fun, after I complete it. I get to like kind of dig into who she is and what her, listen to a few episodes of her podcast and see what, TV shows and movies she's been in. So that'll be like a after
Hmm.
finishing the book. So yeah.
I've never heard of that podcast either. But
Me neither.
I'm not like huge on the podcast though. I think I watch more. I think I consume more podcast related material now because people clip it up and put it on like TikTok than I think I've ever
Ah,
watched or listened or consumed
mm-hmm.
before. But it's not like
Yeah.
intentional. Um, yeah,
I am very intentional. As you know, I am a big podcast person. There are some podcasts that I've been listening to for 15 years.
yeah.
Like, I love a good podcast. So, well, okay, great. Tell the people what we're doing
Uh,
here today
we are
on this lovely
finally,
Saturday.
finally going to talk about Women Without Men. Bye. I'm going to try this. Sar- Sarush Sar Sarnush Parsipur. Sharnush Parsipur? Is that close? Tell me how off I am. I think I'm very off. But
Better than
we
I would have done.
we finally read, well, we both read this, but we also managed to both watch the movie adaptation as well, which I think is interesting because they
Mm-hmm.
are quite different.
Oh, we're going to get into it,
Very
honey.
different.
We
So
are
we'll
going
talk
to
about
get
it.
into it. Yeah.
So yeah. So do
And this
you
is our March April TBR Lowdown book club pick.
correct? What's our current book club pick? I can't remember. Is it The Uninhibited Woman?
I think so, but I'm going to pull up our site and tell you for certain.
Because I gotta start that because I think I have to read that whole thing with
Me
my
too.
eyeballs because I don't think there's an ebook and I don't
Oh,
think.
nope, it's not. Our May June pick is Moonbath by Unique Lahens.
Oh, I may
Lahens.
have to read that with my eyeballs too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yes, that's our pick. Please, I should be reading it. You should be reading it. We're not reading it. We need to do that.
Yes. Yes. Mm.
Anyway, focus. Now I sound like I'm talking to Bonnie. Focus, Bonnie. That's how I talk to myself every day. I'm like, Alyssa May, focus. Um, anyways, did you want to give a little synopsis of what this is, what we're going to talk about?
um, I don't really. Maybe.
You want
So
me to
we are
try?
following how many women? We're
5
following
women.
five women, and the story. I felt like I wasn't sure. Like, is this a novel or a short story collection? I was very confused at first. I still don't know what it is, but
It's a novel.
it's like
Well, a novella.
okay, okay. So we're following these five women. One woman that we come across is, you know what? I'm too tired for this. I'm so sorry.
Would you like
Like,
me to try?
help me,
Okay.
please try,
So
please try. My brain is fried.
it happens. So we're following 5 different women. It's set in Iran in the 1950s, 1953, during the CIA MI6, MI5, whatever, the British coup where they oust the prime minister and put the Shah back into power because of oil and corruption and capitalism. Um,
Yay!
Yay! So you're in the midst of all of this chaos in Iran, and you're following these 4 different women, and it's really looking at sort of the ordinary lives of women in Iran. And you have 5 very different women. You have a very sort of pious woman who is so protective of her virginity that she almost like takes herself out of society. She does take herself out of society.
Mhm.
You have a another young woman who's very protective of her virginity, but also isn't like the nicest person, and she's obsessed with this man. You have another woman who I don't really know how to explain Eunice, but Eunice exists and things happen to her, and we'll get into it. She's a very interesting character in the whole story,
Yeah,
there's an older lady who has money and means and all of that, um,
and it's married.
and is married. So so she does have some freedoms that do come from that, but also she is finding out from her husband just how like non-viable she is as an older lady and how she's replaceable. And then you have this poor young woman who is a prostitute, and we get to see how womanhood what womanhood looks like through all of these women, but there's also a magical realism element to this. So while we meet all these women and we they all these strange things happen, just to summarize that I guess quickly, lots of strange things happen. It's magical realism.
Yeah.
uh, and then they all kind of end up in this orchard, and this is where like I felt like the story was like great, and then I don't know if I liked where it landed, but they end up in this orchard and it's just the women, kinda, and
A woman, the woman and one man
kinda,
they've allowed in.
and
Yeah.
um, things happen there. There's like a lot of like rebirth, I think, is a good word for that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then they sort of return to society, and that's the part that I really kind of didn't care for, but that's just me stylistically personally. Like I always want when I have these really repressed characters or peoples,
Mm-hmm.
I want them to have absolute like catharsis and release at the end. I don't want them to ever walk back into their lives or walk back into the roles that they had before in any way, shape, or form. Even if they come back
Yeah.
in better informed or with more agency or anything, I want them to like blaze a whole new trail. And that's such a personal thing. That's such a personal bias. But I mean, I had it like reading Mansfield Park. Like, I really hate that Fanny Price even has to marry anybody. Like, Fanny Price should be able
Mm-hmm.
to have her own
Mm-hmm.
income and live on her own. And like the amount of people that have just disappointed this poor girl, like she should be able to have
Right.
her own, existence. Things like that. Like they just this is one of those kinds of moments in a story. Like Enchanted April. Like I kind of hate that like all these women go off to Tuscany or wherever in Italy and they have
Mm-hmm.
they have this real big like growth moment, away
Yeah.
from all of the stuff at home, all the trappings of home and all like, but then home comes and invades, and then they kind of what become happy with their home again. Like, no, you still like you're like I'm a person of the world. I've existed. Even if you've gone, and it's like going back to a bad relationship, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
nobody really
Yeah.
changes all that much. Like, you're gonna come back and like things are
Well,
just gonna repeat themselves. So like how I want in my fiction, because I know what reality is like. I want my fiction to give me that cathartic release of people actually being able to do what maybe they can't do in reality. And I don't just mean
well, it's the
like,
way it was set up though, too, right? Like the way it was set up led me to believe, and I was excited about this belief. It led me to believe that these women were going to find a newfound freedom in their lives.
yeah,
And so that's there were a couple of things that happened towards the end that really disappointed me with how that story was going. But when it was when these women initially came to her new home, I thought, oh, okay, great. So now we're going to see how these women like kind of survive and rebuild and restructure together in this newfound freedom of womanhood and sisterhood,
yeah, like
right?
in
And
community with each
so
other.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And then there were yeah, and then that didn't really happen. And then there was
It, like,
maybe I
kinda
shouldn't be
does
talking about that.
it kinda does for a while, and then it doesn't, but I guess maybe we should introduce all the women and talk to
Right,
them and kinda
right.
figure out how we get to this,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
country house orchard.
right.
Um, so we should probably start right.
And do you want to weave in the movie
I
as we
think
go along, or talk
I
about it after?
I think it's gonna naturally find its way in, because I found, like, as I
Okay.
was writing notes, like, I would just be like, "Movie." There'd be, like, a movie
Yeah.
note. Um, but I guess we start with what's her name? Makut
My dog,
Madok.
maybe.
I apologize to everybody.
We are so sorry. We are
Um,
trash.
no, I've listened to it a few times. It's just I have a really hard time with English, so uh, it just gets
Yeah.
worse as I move out from there. So she's the first lady we meet, and
Mm-hmm.
she's kind of like our bookend actually. Um,
Yes.
she she is a teacher. She's like a vice principal in a school. She's the one that is probably the most guarded of her virginity. I think virginity and female value as a sexual object is a huge theme in this,
Yes, it
and
is.
there's different ways of valuing the female as a sexual object or devaluing a
Mm-hmm.
woman, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. But she really highly prizes her virginity, and when the
Yep.
principal of the school starts making like eyes at her and asking her on dates, she feels so like threatened by that that
Yes.
she quits the school. She goes and lives with her is it her brother and or her cousin
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. She goes and moves in with her family. She sort of takes care of the kids. She has these like weird, almost like like they felt like obsessive thoughts about like I'm gonna clothe all the orphans. Um,
Right.
like she wanted to take care of everybody, and then she starts on this whole like my virginity is like a tree, and like I'm like a tree, and then so she plants herself into the ground and
Mm-hmm.
she becomes a tree because this is magical realism and you can't do that. So
Right.
and that it immediately had me thinking of the vegetarian, and
Mm.
then all the other stories. There's so many stories about women who become trees. It's it's
Yeah.
it's such a common theme that to start
It's interesting you say that. That's
with
not what
that.
I thought about at
What did you
all.
think about?
A Master and Margarita.
Oh,
I was not expecting this heavy dose of magical realism in this novella. And it wasn't just the magical realism that made me think about the Master and Margarita, but it was also for me when I was reading it, there was like it felt, I don't know if silly is the right word, but like there was a lightness to the tone
mm-hmm.
that felt, I don't know, maybe a little whimsical, maybe a little comical.
Hmm.
That's how I was reading it. And so it made me think quite a bit about the Master and Margarita. And maybe because some of the things felt so far fetched, that also put me in mind of Master and Margarita.
I don't know if I read this as like light or comical or anything even touching that way. I felt like there was sort of a frankness to it,
Mm-hmm.
and
It is very straightforward.
that made the wacky stuff believable to
Oh, I like
me
that word.
because
Wacky. I like that word.
it's being presented so matter of factly. It's not
Yeah.
um
Oh, I don't want
trying.
people to think this is a funny book. It's not a funny book.
No, it's not. I, I, I just meant like I didn't get like a lightness at any way to it. I just thought it was a
Mm-hmm.
very frank book. And after I
Mm-hmm.
watched an interview with the author, and she doesn't. First of all, she's the second woman to write a novel in Iran. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she was arrested twice specifically for this novel.
Yeah, I read that in the
So she's, I mean, she's a
author's
daring
note.
person, but she seems
Yeah.
very frank and like
Mm-hmm.
straightforward. But anyway, I did start to scratch my head because I feel like I've seen this theme of women planting themselves so often.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to like I don't know where it originates originally, but like it goes back to is it Ovid? I don't know, but it goes back to like the Greeks and like
Mm.
I think it's Daphne plants herself in the ground and becomes a laurel to escape Apollo, who's like being all rapey like the gods like to be.
Right.
Um, you know, so it's like it's
Yeah.
this really like interesting theme that seems to break
Yeah.
any barriers between cultures. Like it's such a common thing. There are other books where I've seen it. I think it even comes up with Once and Future Witches. Like I've seen it come up in a lot of
Yeah.
places, just here and there. And once you see it, I think you clock it, you'll start to see it pop up in other
More.
places while you're reading. It's such a common theme.
Yeah.
So to start with that felt interesting. I
Yeah.
just kind of liked that grounding. But she
Oh,
says,
and oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
no, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was also going to say, like, just going back to like how protective she was of her virginity. Let's also remember when she catches who was having an affair with that young girl, and she was just so disgusted with that young
Oh
woman.
yeah, yeah,
She was just like, just utterly disgusted by her actions that she would have the nerve to just give her virginity away in that manner. She looked at her like trash,
yeah. I mean,
like trash.
I think that it's just like such an important thing to remember that like that is in any culture where purity is valued like as like the highest thing. A woman's
Yeah.
virginity is like the like
Hmm.
I don't know, like the
It's the
golden.
thing.
Yeah, it's the golden like you have to. It's the
Yeah.
most prized thing that you have. So that's why the
Hmm.
conversation that Eunice is going to have with her friend about breaking your hymen is such an interesting conversation to have because
Hmm.
we all know that there's more to virginity than having an intact hymen. Um,
Right.
but these women are purposefully kept naive because if they were to know everything, it would change a lot. I think it's the most
What
diplomatic way for me to say that.
it, it
It'd
it
be a
would break
very
the spell.
dangerous thing
Yeah.
for these women to learn stuff. And we do explore that a bit in Munis, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but our tree lady here, she's very interesting. She says, she says, I wish she had gotten pregnant so they would have killed her. It would have been convenient if the girl had gotten pregnant. The brothers would have ganged up on her and beaten her to death. That would have
Hmm.
been nice. Then she wouldn't mislead the children.
Hmm.
Suddenly and unaccountably, a thought came to Mukduk's mind. My virginity is like a tree. She felt compelled to look at her face in the mirror. Perhaps that is why I am green. Later, she said she contemplated staying behind and planting herself when the winter came. She should have asked the arborists as to the best time to plant saplings. From a sapling, she would grow into a tree. She wanted to be planted near the river and grow leaves darker than algae, so she could seriously challenge the water of the pool. Um,
Hmm.
and then that page ends with, which I think is very interesting, just because she does feel like she's filled with just insanity. It is
Yeah.
always the heart's desire that drives one insane. Um, because she's like unraveling. I mean, you have to,
Yeah.
there has to be a bit of unraveling for you to plant yourself into the ground and become a tree.
Well,
So,
absolutely.
so and she starts to like have this vision of like she's going to become this tree, and they're going to import her to different places, and like they propagate
Right.
her around, and all of that. Um, so that's our first woman. We get to the tree.
Yep.
uh, Fi Fi Fiza
Pfizer.
Fiza. Um,
Pfizer. I think Pfizer.
Fiza's our next one, and I don't like Fiza. I don't like Fiza at all. I think she's a bitch. I'm just gonna be quite clear with you.
She. I don't like her because she seems very like very slick
Mhm.
and manipulative and mean.
She's mean. She's
She's mean.
she's not a nice person. I don't like
No.
her. Um,
No.
at all.
She's like the friend that like secretly hates you,
Mhm.
you know? Well, I'm using friend like, she's the friend that secretly hates you, but she tolerates you for whatever reason.
I just want to back up 1 second, just because we said we were going to string in the movie stuff. So in the adaptation, they only do 4 women, and they take out our tree lady. So from here on forward, all these ladies are depicted in the film adaptation,
Right.
but they took out the tree lady. I guess they couldn't figure out how to make the tree lady work. Tree lady left.
The movie really upset me.
The movie,
I was very upset. I was very disappointed. I was like, I mean, this is a very interesting decision you all have made. They just took out so much. They took out so much.
so I feel like on its own, like as its own thing, if I hadn't read the book, or I wasn't like looking for pieces of the book in there, if I was just like, oh, they made a movie, um, I didn't mind it. It wasn't like the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind it. I think it gave a lot more historical context to
Mm-hmm.
the coup and everything that was going on in Iran. So like that I appreciated. Um, but the way that they manipulated and changed the story, I don't know if
It's
it
a
was
different
necessary. It's
story.
a whole different story. It really is. And I don't know if it was strictly necessary, but I think I appreciated the way it ended better than the book.
Mm.
I have
I
complex
mean,
I have complex feelings about I think the movie was fine.
I think if I had never read the book, I would still say to myself, this movie is very choppy. There's something missing here. Like the flow was not good. So even if I hadn't read the book, I would still feel like there's something missing. I would feel like there's something I'm not getting here. There's something they're not telling me because it was extremely too choppy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's true. I mean, it's visually very beautiful.
That it is.
There's stuff
That it is.
very much missing, that there's stuff that was
Mm-hmm.
taken out that I think really that context is really important to
Yes.
understanding. When we get to our prostitute friend, I don't quite understand her role in the home at the end when you remove all the book context from it. I don't understand what her role is then.
Right.
So that's
Right.
interesting. But Fiza, I think, gets
Mm-hmm.
softened a lot in the movie. She's a lot less
Yes.
horrible in the movie, because in the book,
Because they took out a critical part in the movie.
yeah. So
They took out that critical part that shows you
what she's really
how
like,
horrible she is.
because she is again this like I protect my virginity, and I'm like this. I am this pure woman, and she's like obsessed with her friends
Mm-hmm.
brother, and she's older. She's what, like going on 30, and like
Mm-hmm.
she wants to be married. She's trying to like position herself to catch
Right.
the brother's friend, the brother's eye.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
What's his name? Americon.
Amir Khan, and he's also another awful person. But
He he's awful. Did he not? For me, he reminded me of the men in the first book that we read for our book club, the
yes,
the Impatience.
Yeah.
that was very much like, oh, we're seeing this
Yes.
again.
Yes. He
Yeah.
is like that patriarchal embodiment of
Hmm.
I don't know, all I guess all of the like all of the bad things
Yeah.
that you can get out of like a very fundamentally religious group, basically. Like
Yeah.
how do I
I
put
mean, they
this?
said it right. Women belong in the house. The outside is the world of men.
Hmm. And like
Yeah.
he really like he is looking for this like she covers her head and she doesn't go outside and she's very like demure and she's all this she's not it's not
Hmm.
her like it's not her and you know it's not her. It doesn't matter that she is a virgin. It really doesn't matter. She could
Exactly.
be anything. Everybody knows that you're nasty. Like she comes,
Yeah.
she goes to Munis's house and she just starts ragging on her sister-in-law,
Hmm.
ragging on her cooking, ragging on this, ragging on
Yep.
that. She thinks she's like the
Yep.
most
Just bitching the whole time.
amazing person in the world. And then she's like, "Oh, is your
Yeah.
brother home?
Right.
Hi,
Yeah.
brother." Like, no, he's
Yeah.
everybody's got your number, girl. Like, you're
Yep.
horrible. She's pretty. I did not like her. I
Yeah.
do not like her.
Right. And she's got this weird thing about evaluating people based on the shape of their faces.
Oh,
And,
yes. I
she
forgot
thinks
about the face
because
thing.
Munis's face is, round, that she's basically an idiot. So,
Yes.
again, like the friend that you don't know actually secretly hates you.
I forgot about that whole face thing because it was just
Yeah.
so ridiculous. But that's got to be some based in some old wives' tale that,
Gotta be.
you know,
Gotta be.
that you just hang on to. I mean, because at some point she does go to like, because there is this little bit of, there's definitely like a lot of religion, but there's also a lot of superstition and a little bit of
Yeah.
a witchcraft almost. Because she does go to that
Yeah.
woman and try to like get a love potion, to make Amir
Yes.
love her. So,
Uh huh.
so there is this.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not just Allah. Like there are other
Oh,
forces
yes.
at work here that we can call on. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
so I thought that was really
Because,
really interesting.
so in the book, uh, Munis's brother like accidentally kills her, and then Fiza comes over and basically says, I don't blame you for doing this. Like
Oh
she
yeah,
basically
oh yeah.
wasn't being ladylike,
This is
and and
not a
and and
girl's girl.
essentially helps him cover up this death,
Well,
right? And so in the movie they don't show that.
we have to back up with Munis a bit. So like Munis is much older. She's basically like
Yes,
taking care of the
she got
house.
like 10 years on her, right?
Yeah, she's like 38 years old. She's taking care of this house basically. Um, she has like basically been protecting her virginity by like not exploring her world at all because she was so afraid that if she even like climbed a tree, she would break her hymen. And then
Exactly.
they have this conversation in the garden courtyard or whatever of their house or wherever they had it because at this point I think setting wise there's some blurring between the book and the movie in my poor little brain,
Hmm.
but wherever they have it, they at Munis's house. And then Fiza tells her some other story about it being like an orifice that opens. And so like now it's dawning on Eunice that she literally for 38 years has had no idea what life is like. Like she's like, "What do you
Right.
mean?" So this is a story that no one's ever told her before. And I think Eunice is my favorite because I think that like Eunice is the most interesting and has the best like whole character
Story art.
arc.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
because she ends up going out into the streets and she ends up dying. Um, but
Hmm.
she kind of comes back because magical
Yeah.
realism.
Magical realism.
And while
Hmm.
she's missing, uh, her family thinks she's missing. She's just dead and roaming the streets. She's able to gain knowledge, and as she's gaining this knowledge, she becomes like a very different person. Um,
Yeah.
Suddenly, she can read minds, and I jotted down a note that I was like, can she read minds or is she just more aware? Like, does she understand things more so then she can actually
Exactly.
understand people better to the point where it feels like she's reading
Right.
your mind? Um, and she comes back with all this knowledge because she goes to like booksellers, she goes here, she goes there, she reads things, she's gone for a while.
Hmm.
And so she comes
Yeah.
back to the home and that's when her brother kills her because to them, I mean, she's already dead, but whatever, it's magical realism. They
Right.
don't know that. Um, he kills her again. And that because of the shame that
Right, because
he
how
brought
dare
on the
she be
family.
out?
How dare she be out? How dare
Mm-hmm.
she be out that long? There's no way she could be out that long and not doing like something horrendous, like I don't know, having sex with
Absolutely.
people. Um, so she
Called
should.
her a shameless woman.
So she must be murdered. And for
Yeah.
your friend
Mm-hmm.
to come over,
Mm-hmm.
find your ass dead, and be like, "Oh yeah, you did the right." Fiza
Yeah.
is like the opposite of a girl's girl. And Fiza pisses me off because even at the end of the story, this bitch is still hung up on this man. Why are you still
Till
hung
the
up
end.
on this man? This man does not want you.
Yeah.
He does not
Yeah.
want you. Leave him.
Let me
He's
read
also not
what
even worth all of this. He's
he isn't.
nasty.
He isn't. Let me read what she says to him when she comes in and finds what he's done. She said because he was crying because he was like he realized what he'd done, and she says, "Why are you crying? You are a brother. You have honor and a duty to protect it. You killed her. You did the right thing. Why not? She'd been gadding about for a whole month. No decent girl behaves like that. She was good as dead. I'd do the same if I were you. Your mother has raised you nobly." So, all she's thinking about is how can she get in his good graces by providing him, coverage and support. She's
I
not thinking about her friend.
I wrote in the margins, imagine being so thirsty for a man that you help him cover up the murder of his sister and your friend.
And there it is, folks. And there it is. Yeah. It was such a cringy moment,
It's so, but
like extreme, but like we know women like this. We've known a woman like this who would go to any measure to like get that man, even at, betraying a friend or family. We've
mhm.
we've we've all known that woman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Ugh. It's he's
And
like
the thing
and he
is,
just
like,
moves
when she
on.
right, but also like his inner thoughts, right? So in her mind, she's like, okay, in this moment, I'm going to console him and let him know that what he did was the right thing to do, and that I'm behind him. And so, like, while she's thinking that and talking to him, stoop down in front of him, what he's thinking that he says, um, he thought it was unbecoming of a woman to keep a handkerchief between her breast and squat before a man in a way that exposed her crotch.
Yep.
He says if Pfizer had been his sister, he would have killed her for such indiscretion. So it's like, girl, you're not even reading the room.
No.
You don't even really know the type of man that you want.
No.
In this moment, he's not even thinking of you as this like demure woman.
Yep. I mean, and then
Insane.
even the mother's like, "Oh, you're not going to marry Fiza because everybody can
Right.
see Fiza." He goes, "No, no, no. I'm going to marry this other girl. She's 18 years
Yep.
old and exceedingly pretty. She is
Yep.
bashful, caring, dutiful, chaste, and modest. She dresses and behaves properly in public. In the street, she always walks with her head down. Please do me the favor of asking her for her hand in marriage on my behalf."
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, but Muniz lets it out at the wedding.
She sure does.
Yes, she does. So
She
Muniz ends up
sure
coming back
does.
from the dead once again. They bury her in the garden or something. She
Yes.
Fiza digs her up or whatever, and Muniz comes back. And I like the Muniz that comes back. The Muniz that comes back,
Mm-hmm.
that Muniz does not give a fuck. That
She's not taking
Muniz,
shit.
she is like, nope, I've seen things, I've heard things, I know
Yeah.
things, and this fucker just killed me. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
stroll into the bedchamber and be like, guess what? Your wife, she a
I'm
whore.
back.
She a whore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Take that. She says, so you partnered with my brother to kill me, you shameless ingrate.
So Jesus
Disgusting.
is doing
Disgusting.
like, I don't charades next to. Oh, that okay. That's what that means. I didn't know what you were doing. He's a weird man. Anyway, at least he wouldn't kill me and plant me in the garden.
Well, there's that. There's that.
Oh, but Muniz
Yeah.
doesn't just stop there. She goes and she tells Fiza that her sister-in-law is a better cook than her.
Right. She's like letting it all out.
I love Muniz. Muniz
She's
is my
letting
favorite
it
character.
all out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
But I mean, but like, how many times has this poor girl got to die? You know?
Right, it was like 3 times, right?
Yeah, I think maybe the third time's a charm. I think, but
We
yeah.
think.
So then, so those are those two,
Yep.
and then we have our final two. So we have Zari. I think we meet Zari next. Do we meet Zari next?
No, we meet the
Oh,
Mrs.
we may miss Farouk
Far- Farouk.
Fakur. Fuck, that sounded wrong when I said that. That sounded like I
Right.
said something not appropriate.
Yeah, she's our older character in the story who's a married
Farouk.
woman.
Farouk. We'll go with
Yes,
Farouk.
let's go with yes, because
So
that sounds right.
I don't think it is. So she's 51. She's married to a wealthy gentleman, whose nickname is Sadri, I think, and so we'll go with that. They have very long names that my dumb mouth
Yeah.
cannot pronounce, and so we'll do our best here.
Mm-hmm.
They have grown children. He's like, I think, relatively like well established in the government and stuff. Like he's
Yeah.
important.
Recently
Um,
retired.
he's retired. Like she's done everything she was supposed to do, right? She's had kids, she's married,
Mm-hmm.
she's wealthy, she did everything she was supposed to do. He's been working and she's had some freedom while he's been working. Now he's retired and bothering the shit out of her because she liked her time alone. She did her job, she got her time alone, and now this man is here bugging her. I understand that. Um,
Yeah.
they've both had affairs. This is not like a love marriage. Like
No, it is
this is
not.
just a marriage, right? Like they are just making their way through this marriage.
And
Um,
her heart has, I don't think her heart has ever been in this. There is like
no,
the
this
one
other
that got
man.
away for her. Yeah.
Yeah, she has this other
Yeah.
man who is named, I think his
For,
last name is
for,
Azad.
yeah. Faradin?
Faruddin
Farudin?
Faruddin
Azad?
Azad. We'll call him Azad.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the guy that got away. She's always had a crush on him. I do like the way they portray him in the film as being like charming and
Mm-hmm.
like gives attention to her and
Yes.
listens to her and
Yes.
cares about her
He finds
interests.
value in her.
Yes,
Yes.
and he appreciates her interests and wants to cultivate
Yes.
those, which I feel like
Yes.
that gets kind of missed a little bit in here because it is very much like her sided, and you see how much she's infatuated with
Mm-hmm.
him. But he's
Yeah.
like slicker. He travels to America.
He's cultured,
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
seen things. You know, he's been in the world and of the world. He ends up with an American wife, which is interesting,
Yeah.
and he
Well,
dies.
in the movie, they say he just those blondes. That's what
Yeah,
they
he
say in
does
the
like
movie.
blondes.
Yeah.
but he but he ends up dying, which the movie really irritated me. I was just like, isn't this guy supposed to be dead?
Yeah.
There are people that are supposed to be dead that aren't dead in this movie, or at least not really talked about, because like the husband dies too.
Just completely skipped over. Just completely skipped over.
The husband also dies.
Yes.
She is a
Because she
woman.
accidentally kills him.
It happens. Sometimes you accidentally kill your husband.
It
So
happens. It happens.
she is able to go and get this house in the countryside and
Mm-hmm.
set up this orchard because he dies, and
Yeah.
she gets actual
Yes.
freedom and agency over her life because she
Yes.
doesn't have a goddamn man. Okay. But she
Exactly.
has money
It was a
too.
beautiful moment. I really loved it. I
She's
loved it. Because you know how miserable she is in this
mhm,
marriage.
mhm.
Um, it says since his retirement, Gautray, her husband, had taken up the habit of going for a walk every afternoon. For 2 hours, he walked around the neighborhood, stopping at a local cafe to read the newspaper. His wife looked forward to his absence so she could move around freely. With him in the house, she felt restricted and claustrophobic, a need to confine herself to a corner to avoid contact. In the 32 years of their marriage, she had learned to be inactive when her husband was home. Instinctively, she felt vitality and joy in his absence. So when he died and she was able to make this move to this home on her own, I felt so happy for
It was
her.
like let
I
freedom
felt the
ring, you
joy of
know?
freedom. Yes.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine living like that for all those years?
I mean, yes and no. I could think about it, but I don't want to live it.
I was just so, again, just so happy for her. Like, yes, she gets to like get back to the things that she loved, right?
Yeah.
Because that was also something. Let's go back to the movie. You know, when she ran into Azad and he was, asking her like, "Do you still write poetry?" She's like, "No." "Do you still sing?" Like, so all these things that used to bring her joy that she used to do creatively, she has not done in years,
Yeah.
or at least hasn't done where anyone else can see or hear her do them. So she's like shut herself off in a way,
Well,
and so
I love a theme of like marriage stifling women. I love that.
yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
And I know that can sound like poo pooing on marriage. There's plenty of lovely relationships, but there's also a lot of really horrible
Yes.
ones. And it can work the other way too. I
Yes.
think a lot of wives can
Oh.
stifle their husbands. So it's not gender
Oh,
specific.
absolutely.
I'm just a woman, so I like it's about me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, she gets to be free and to get this place and do what she wants with it and invite who she wants into it, and she can possibly become a poet or a member of parliament, or like the world is her oyster without this man in her life.
I mean, she really wanted to climb that social ladder. That
She
was
did.
really important to her. I
She did.
mean, she's constantly thinking about how she could become an important person.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about throwing these dinner parties and doing this and doing that. So that is in the forefront of her mind, is like building a really successful social life.
Mm-hmm. So then finally we have to meet Zari, who is
Yeah.
our prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been a prostitute since she was like,
10.
yeah, a long time. She's been a prostitute a long time.
Yeah.
And she services like double-digit people a day. It is
Yeah.
disgusting.
It is.
Um, and
It is.
she kind of seems to accept her lot in life, to some extent. Um,
I mean, she seems to have no hope.
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like she's stuck there. It's not like she's
Yeah.
some person that's trying to push out, I guess is my point. She's
Right.
just kind of there. And one day she just stops being able to see the faces on men, like, or heads or whatever. They just go. She has this like psychotic break, basically. Um,
In the book, let's be clear, in the book, all of
it's
her
heads.
customers were headless.
In the thing, it's
In the
faceless.
movie,
See,
she ran across a man who had like a blurred
so
face.
what I was really disappointed in the movie is when she goes to the temple, right? So she's going, so she cleans herself up as much as possible. In the book, she asks a
Yeah.
friend if she tells a friend in the little whorehouse that this is happening, and she's like, is anybody else seeing this? Like, is this real? Like, she's trying to
Mm-hmm.
judge reality.
Assess what's going on. Yeah.
And the friend's like, oh, I don't know, let's see. And then she's like, no, it's just you, girl, you should go pray about this. And what I didn't pick up until I watched some stuff about this, is that like as a prostitute to go pray, that is like really sacrilegious, because you are basically dirt
Mm.
and you're so unclean.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So like in the movie when she's scrubbing herself raw, like when you watch that scene,
Yes.
you're like,
Trying to
is
get
she
clean.
okay? She's trying to get herself clean enough to be able to go
Yeah.
seek like that, guidance,
Mm-hmm.
that divine guidance or whatever. When she's in the scene in the movie and the men are praying and they all lift their heads up, were you not waiting for just a sea of faceless men?
I actually
And
was,
we didn't get it.
because,
And I was like, what a
and we,
missed opportunity to really
yes.
drive
Yeah.
home that this is not a
Like I,
one time thing. This is something she's
yeah.
seeing everywhere. And it reminded me
Yep.
actually of, there is a horror book, a menopause horror book called
Uh-huh.
Mary. I don't know if you've read it, by Nat
Oh, I've
Cassidy.
read Mary.
And she starts to see all these people's like faces all messed up because of the
Right.
menopause, right?
Right.
So I just thought that was like a really interesting, like random connection for my brain. This is like, in
Yes.
no world are these two things connected, but
Exactly.
right
Exactly.
now in my brain. Because
Exactly.
this
It's so
was,
funny though, because that's exactly what I thought. I was fully expected to see headless men.
yeah, and like what an impactful scene that would have been to have all these men stare up at her,
Yeah.
and then then you understand why she's running away. It's not just she's running away from men. It's not that she's just running away because she's not supposed to be there. She's running away
Yeah.
because of those things, but also because of the
Yeah.
horror of these men looking back at her. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then she ends up on the road to this place. Is
Mm-hmm.
it Karadej?
Like everyone's headed that way.
Everybody
That's
ends
the
up
other thing.
headed
Like
there.
everyone's headed this way
If there were
in this
parts in this book, we
story.
would be reaching the end of part one, and everybody would be headed to this country town,
Right.
where Farouk, what are we calling her? Farouk? What have we decided?
For
What are
yes,
we
Farouk.
committing ourselves to?
Mrs. Farouk.
Mrs. Farouk has
That's
bought her
Mrs.
house.
Farouk.
Has bought her house.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
they all head out on the road
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And
Oh, hang on before you go on. When in the movie, when
mhm.
Zarin stripped down naked, I was startled by her body.
Oh, she
I
is
was
like
startled.
absolutely like street urchin hasn't eaten in days,
Yeah.
emaciated.
I wasn't prepared for that. I was
She
not
is
prepared for that.
quite well nourished.
Yeah. Yeah. It just made her situation like that much more dire to me in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. So that just kind of like, holy crap, it just made me incredibly sad.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that in this society where purity and like cleanliness of whatever is so important, specifically for
Yeah.
women, that they've created an outlet specifically for men to keep some women pure while they satiate
Hmm.
their desires. So
Hmm.
it's not just, oh, they are prostitutes. Like there is this
Hmm.
like culture of, or this institution of mistresshood, or I don't know what the right word is for it. I think there is like a
Hmm.
specific word for it, where you're like, you're not a wife,
Hmm.
but you're not like, but you're mistress basically, but it's sort
Right.
of institutional. It's like institutionalized mistresshood. It's where
Yes.
it's not disrespectful to be that, but
You can register it.
it's not as respectful as being a wife. Like
Yeah.
there's this in between. So there's
Yeah.
tiers of woman that exist,
It's a
um,
concubine, right?
to service, sort of, yeah, to service
Yeah.
men, and I just
Hmm.
all to maintain this facade of like religious purity or whatever. And I just
Yeah.
find it, well, we all know how I feel about religion. But
Right.
if you've been listening,
Yeah.
but it's just interesting that we construct these like fallacies to justify like holding the like to justify doing things that go against what your belief system is. It's like, so you carve out these like little like oh god, what is the word I'm looking for? Like these little,
Well, for me, I'm just going to say it very plainly. It frustrates me and makes me so angry that the men are allowed to have their cake and eat it too,
yes,
while they stifle and confine women.
yes,
It's so maddening.
yes,
It's so
because,
maddening. They get to act out all of their desires, like whenever they want, wherever they want.
and also that the women have to repress themselves and have to actively maintain that repression
Yeah,
because men can't. Like
yeah,
men can't contain
that
themselves.
part, Melissa.
So like you, the women aren't allowed agency. The only people that are allowed agency are the men, but the
Yeah,
men don't exercise their agency in any way other than to do whatever the hell they want. Like they don't,
exactly,
they're not like,
exactly.
you know, being respectful. They're not, and these are all generalities, this is,
Sure.
but it's just very interesting. I think this book
Yeah.
lays that out quite well without like beating you over the head with it. Like you really get
Hmm.
to see different, like a whole smorgasbord of women in Iran and how they're treated and what's expected of them and
Yeah.
how different their lives can be based on where they fall sort of on the ladder of womanhood. Um,
Hmm.
because even like I think at the
Yep.
end, I know that at the movie, Amir Khan tries to make Faiza a second wife, but I don't think that's what he's
Yeah.
doing in here. I think he's trying to make her like the concubine thing,
Yes,
which
absolutely.
is so much more disrespectful than being a
Mm-hmm.
second wife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the fact that that
And
isn't,
she has no desire to be the second wife whatsoever.
no, and that's such a like an interesting thing, like you said, that cake can eat it too. Like men
Yeah.
can do anything. Like, and if they
Yeah.
can't do it, they make up a rule basically, to be able
Exactly.
to. So that's very
Exactly.
frustrating. Um,
Surprise, surprise. They
and
get what they want again.
and then to make sure that everybody listens, they like seal it in this like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know shellac of religion, and then they're like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whatever, and it happens in a lot of places. It's not
Oh,
just an
yes.
Islam thing. Um, so yeah. Anyway, so that would really be like the end of part two. Everybody's on the road. Part one, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, everyone is on the road to this town to meet up with Mrs. Farouk. That is not her name, but we're gonna call her that.
Right.
Um, and the road there is interesting. I mean, Eunice and Faiza have a pretty horrific journey.
They really do. Oh, I guess so. Like they're all on a path that goes to the same place,
Mhm.
but like those women don't know anything about Mrs. Farouk.
No, they're not like all like, oh, I heard there's
Right.
this orchard. We're gonna go there. They all
Right.
end up
Although
there
the movie,
by happenstance. The movie makes it seem like they got like a hand engraved
right,
piece of invitation sent to
right. The
them.
movie makes it like Muniz knew where to take Pfizer to go.
I mean, I don't think that's such a leap to make that like Munis would maybe know, because the idea in the book is that like Munis just knows everything. So
That's true.
is that
That's
is
true.
that maybe the reason they're on the road is Munis taking them? You know what I mean? There's Munis, whether she
Right.
knows it or not, is she like guiding Fiza that way? Um,
Right.
I can't remember why Zari ends up that way. Oh, because she asked where she can get a break, and they said to go out to
Uh-huh.
Kardish, and so she ends up going out that way too, because she's just
Yeah.
like absolutely broken down, right? So tries to go to the temple, this shrine, and she's trying to get like religious guidance. She's trying to figure out anything, and it's just poor Zari. She's
Yeah.
not. We brought the church fan out.
Yeah. It's very hot in here. I've got the fan on because I can't run the AC. So
Oh,
it's very hot.
Naomi, if she passes out, this is gonna be like when she fell off the chair.
Fun times.
Hmm. Yeah.
All
So
right.
I mean, so we probably shouldn't say everything that happens, but basically, those are the women, right? They all end up on the road. They have
Yeah.
quite a journey to get there. Um, Mrs. Farouk sets up this home, and this man shows up called the Kind Gardener. Is that what we call him?
Yes, the kind gardener. Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of pops up, it feels like, and he's
Well,
going.
in the movie, it's like he pops up, but in the book, we know where he came from.
Yeah, he's with the girls, and he's with but he still feels like he kind of pops
Talking
up.
about this movie is frustrating me.
He's still fine. I feel like he kind of pops up in the book though. Like he comes, but he doesn't come. You know what I mean? Like,
But at least we got like he was in the car with those men,
yeah. So like,
right?
yeah,
With that, so like we know.
there's a connection. He just literally doesn't come out
Yeah,
of like the woods. Um,
yeah, like he
so
did in the movie. I'm sorry, I'm so pissed, Alyssa, with these things they left out.
there's a lot of context they left out for like who all these people are. But like
Yes,
he comes and he's there to tend the garden, and what they find when they get there is they find Maduk Maduk
yeah, my duck.
planted, and
Mm-hmm.
as a tree, but she's not like fruiting. She's not like,
Right,
she's not blossoming. She's not. Uh,
right.
there's something not quite right with her, and
Mm-hmm.
the kind gardener has ideas of how to like tend to her. He seems to understand her, which I find very
Yeah,
interesting.
and wants to protect her.
Yes, I do like. I wanted more of that, honestly. She could
Yeah.
have gone a little bit more into the dynamics between the kind gardener and
Hmm.
archery lady.
Yeah.
Um, but he ends up sort of in a relationship with Zari, which is kind of nice. Um,
Yeah.
and through that relationship, they end up feeding this tree. And while they're there, the women get this space to sort of be reborn in a way, but reborn feels like a much bigger word than what actually happens.
I I feel like they all begin to heal in their own way.
Yeah,
Even Mrs. Farouk. I mean, she's healing too.
she is,
They're all on a journey of healing from their individual lives, and that's what I thought was so beautiful when they all like came together.
which is why
You
I wanted
know?
to sit in that, and we don't sit in that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
even if you wanted to keep this ending of going back into their lives, um, with whatever newfound whatever they have, right? Whatever
Mm-hmm.
that looks like, um, I wanted to sit more in that discovery.
Yeah.
And we don't
Absolutely.
sit in that discovery for very long. That is too rushed in this book for my liking. Well, you know what
Mm-hmm.
bothered me about the movie though, and I almost laughed when it happened at the end when like the winds kick up and then a just tree falls.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that supposed to be our girl, the tree girl?
Right. That's what I was wondering. Like,
Like
is
I
that my girl?
wanted like at the bottom of the screen, just like in it, if you know, you know.
Right. I like something. Give me something. Give me something. Can I tell you the line or the thing in the book that made me that it soured something for me?
Hmm.
So like, we're talking about these women coming together in Mrs. Farouk's home in this beautiful moment. We think we're going to see this new journey of healing and growing and nurturing a sisterhood. But on page 99, it says, with the approach of the winter season, Farouk was thinking of getting rid of the women. Now
Yep.
she knew how to manage her affairs. The exhibition was to open in late January, and she was thinking of leasing a house in Tehran. The garden and Kardish would be her summer residence. She saw no place for women in this scheme. And when I read that, it soured the whole experience for me because I literally, what I was thinking was Mrs. Farouk saw a way to lend a hand and
Mhm.
to be a part of embracing women in need. But when I read this, it was like it didn't have shit to do with that at all. You just saw them as a means to help you get by in this home, and it
Mhm.
soured that for me. And it just was like it felt like a real letdown. It felt like a real letdown because she becomes quite annoyed with them, especially
Oh yeah.
Mulus.
Yes.
And I was just like, damn, this is not how I saw this playing out. I was like, oh, you tricked me. And I just felt a little angry about it because
I'm
I
telling
just
you,
saw something beautiful flourishing and we just did not get that like I thought we were.
I wish could ask the author why. Like, why did she take this in
Why?
the direction she takes it at the end? Because I don't appreciate it. Also,
It was so disappointing.
go back to 98 because that's when Amir Khan shows up. And Faiza is still a thirsty bitch. So she
Oh, listen, I was so sick of her. Do you hear me? So
Okay,
sick of
as
her.
planned, the party started the following week. Gradually, relatives began showing up among the guests, including Amir Khan, who came under the pretext of visiting his sister. He was subdued and restrained and unaccompanied by his wife. Why didn't you bring your wife? Faiza asked pointedly. She is too busy, he said. Besides, she is not into socializing. She is a homemaker born to keep house. I can't say I approve of full time homemakers, Faiza returned. A woman must have a social dimension to help her man advance socially. One can get stuck in the kitchen corner. For example, you don't plan to remain a low grade employee forever. You want to advance yourself to higher positions in your organization. The way to do it is to network with important people. And I have lost count of the number of important people I have gotten to know so far. I just have to drop a hint, and any problems may have well been taken care of.
Yeah.
Girl, Give it
Yeah,
up.
I've got all look, I've got all that. Like
Give it
I was over it.
up.
Now, okay, for you, because this is the sense that I got, right? This contact that he asked her about that she knows Mr. Atrician,
Mhm.
did you get the sense that he has decided to get with her for her contacts?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't understand the man, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a plausible thing. He could just be wanting a different facet in his life, like, he's got, like, the like, some people cheat because, like, they've got, like, the thing that they're supposed to have at home, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
exciting, and so then they go cheat with
Yeah.
something that's exciting.
Yeah.
Is that what he's looking for? Does Fiza feel more exciting to him?
Yeah. I feel like in that moment, she did say the right thing for his ears, where he realized that, oh, she could help aid in advancing my life. She's got
Yeah,
these contacts. She understands and knows what to do. And I think that was appealing to him.
yeah. I don't
He's
know
a
why
terrible person as well. You know what? They're both two terrible people and they deserve each other.
I just really disliked them. I did not like them. I like Munis. I
I
liked
do too.
Munis in the movie, even though
Yeah.
she's basically like a specter, which is fine.
Yeah.
I don't like
Yeah.
I mean, she's dead,
Yeah.
so I mean, I guess that makes sense. There were a lot of I will say what
Right.
I liked about the movie is did you feel like there were a lot of moments where she would be in a crowd and you were trying to figure out if she was in the crowd or a ghost in the crowd? Like just
Y- I
like
never really knew, like, is she here or not?
yeah, so
That was that.
there is like a
Yeah.
unsettledness about her, which I do think is great. Like I like that the
Yeah.
movie brought that
Mm-hmm.
in. Um
Yeah.
so the movie's not terrible. I don't think it's bad. It's just
It's not terrible, but like again, very choppy.
but I do think
And I
with
just feel like they left out some important things in this story.
I think without the context of the book, don't know how I would have felt watching the movie. Like, would I be lost? I don't know.
Again,
I can't
I
I
stand
can't
by
I
what I
can't do that
say.
experiment.
I would feel like things are very choppy and I would feel like I'm missing something, like something they're keeping something from me
Mhm.
because things they don't fit snugly in any blanket. It just doesn't. So there's a lot of question as to, huh, this seems like something either happened before or like something's missing.
Yeah. But maybe like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like why we do this like very harsh transition from like this eat in their building to get the hell out. Like I maybe like they have to. Maybe it's like a you can't live in this idyllic world. Like you have to actually go out there and do things. Like you have to go face your Amir Khans and you have to go try to run for
I
politicians
mean,
and you've got to
yeah,
I don't know, you finally got to seed and blossom and you got to actually
right,
let go. I don't know. I'm kind of grasping at straws for that one.
yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
honestly, the reality is they could have stayed that way. They could
they
have lived
could
like
have.
that. You
They
know what I
could have.
mean? They could have been their own little
Enclave.
found family. Seriously, like I don't think that would be far fetched. I don't think that that would be wishful thinking. I think that could have been their new lives together.
And they could have built themselves a little isolated oasis and like around that oasis you could see all of the shifting dynamics of
Yeah.
politics and life in Iran and you could really run
Yeah.
this through up until when this was
Oh
written to like
yes.
80s, like where you just have this enclave of people that live
Yes.
a life untouched by whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole different book that I did not write.
Right.
So
Right. Because also, like in the movie, like they're invaded by, you know, what were they? Officers?
oh, so like there's in the movie they really play up the tensions
The political aspect.
between like the supporters of the Shah and the supporters of the democratically elected prime minister. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more discussion of like uh kind of almost like patriotism for Iran and wanting like the US and the UK out of their oil, out of
Yeah.
their lives, not
Yeah.
capitalizing on
British go
them.
home.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
like, it was and so you really get a lot more of that context because I had to go get that context, right? Because like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know a ton about a ton of things, and this is one of those things I don't know. So I,
Right.
like, had to go on the Google and, figure out, you know, just, like, a little brief, like, what was 1953 Iran?
Yeah.
What's so special about this?
Yeah.
And getting some context on that. And then, like, we know about the Iranian Revolution, so, like,
Mm-hmm.
that I knew. It's a little bit more contemporary to my life, so that's probably why I was more familiar with it, but,
Right.
um, the movie, I think, does a better job of setting this in time and place, and
Mm-hmm.
Munis becomes much less about, like, gathering of knowledge and being this, like, baddie that reads people's minds.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
she becomes this, like, communist sort of freedom
Mm-hmm.
fighter kind of person, because
Yeah. She gets in the trenches.
she does,
Yeah.
and even in the movie and the book, Munis is probably my favorite character, and then in the book, probably second to that is Zari. I like Zari a lot. I think that
Mm-hmm.
she's interesting, and I like that she gets like a happy ending, which I like. I like
Yeah.
that she gets to go from the bottom to something good. Um,
Yeah.
but Munis in the movie is she's interesting, she's
Yeah.
in there, she's fighting, she's
She's
interested
a
in
rebel
things.
badass.
She's smart,
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why in the movie when she learns about virginity, it feels
Mm-hmm.
even more of a shock because she's so plugged into everything that's going on, and you can tell that
Yeah.
she does have, like, she's not a naive person, but to find out how little she knew about herself seems like that was like, oh my god, like, she's like,
Mm-hmm.
what else don't I know if I don't even know
Exactly.
about me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
have one question. Um, so my question is, are these women ever without men?
Nope.
At
No.
no point they're never without men. And I
I
wonder.
thought they were gonna be, and I gave side eye and when they let the kind gardener stay, and I understand why. Like in the book, the kind gardener got on my nerve a little bit. I was like, wait a minute, it sounds like he's trying to call the shots, and I don't like that. Just a little bit. It's like no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. This is not your home. You no, no, know your place. So I was getting a little annoyed with him in the book. But no, they are not without men. Not the way that I thought they were going to be.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Is it a function of translation that gives us the title Women Without Men? And
Mm.
it's missing a little something, 'cause, like sometimes titles are translated.
Yeah.
Or is there something she's trying to say to us about that? About,
Mm-hmm.
like, they're kind of always going to be there? Like, I don't know.
Right. You
Or
can't
living your
really
life.
avoid them.
Like, are we
Yeah.
meant to live our lives like there are no men? We've been talking for a long time. Wow. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. Y'all, this book is like 115 pages, by the way. It's not even that long.
Wow. Okay.
Right. That is an interesting question.
Mhm.
Uh-oh. Is that dimming? Sorry, my LED light.
Oh.
Um, yeah. That is interesting.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that's
that's
my
what
question for.
happened. One of my floor lights went out.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And it doesn't need to have an answer. I just think it's an interesting
Yeah,
question to ask and a little thought
it is.
exercise for anybody who's also read this. Um, just about the whole idea of, are they ever without men?
Yeah.
Or is it just looking at those moments, those pockets in time when women are free to just be women?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. And to find themselves. Yeah. I definitely think people should give this a read and watch the movie.
Yeah, I think it's worth it.
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
was impressed that my library had it, so I could borrow it on DVD.
Yeah. I watched it on Amazon Prime. I did a free trial of Indieplex or wherever it was showing. And then I
I
canceled it after I finished the movie.
see, like, I would have
You won't get me.
forgotten. I would have
That's why I did
forgotten.
it as soon as the movie ended. As soon as the movie ended, I went right back in those settings and did cancel subscription. Do
I'm
not
also
auto renew.
I'm also trying really hard to use my library more than just for Libby, like physically use my library,
Yeah.
which I'm an avid Libby user, but I'm not so good at the physical library stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
invest more into it. I don't think my little I don't think I'm gonna make or break whether the library stays, especially not in this administration. But um,
Yeah.
at least I
Yeah.
know that I've tried. So I just returned
Exactly.
that
You've done your
today.
part.
I've done my part, and I picked up another movie um, that I don't think I'm gonna like because I tried to watch it and I wasn't really enjoying it, but I wasn't gonna re-rent
Mm.
it for like the third time. Just gonna borrow it from the library.
My gosh.
But anyway, yes, please read this.
Yes.
I what are we reading next again? I'm sorry, I'm the worst.
Moonbath by Yannick Lehans.
Okay,
Lehans.
that's the next one
That
I
is
have to get.
our May June book. Make sure to visit our website, TBR Lowdown. Click on book club so you can see the books that we've selected to read for this year, 2025. You can also on that page see the previous books that we've read, so you can kind of get an idea of what we um, tend to choose. So it's always women in translation,
Mm-hmm.
and we were both really psyched about our picks for this year.
Yeah, and
Really psyched.
this one is a little longer. This one's at 216. We've had a couple shorties
Yeah, yeah,
so far this year, so we get a sort of
mm-hmm,
longer length book. Anyway,
yeah,
so what is it time for book recommendations? Is that what's happening?
yeah. I think it is. It
This is gonna be
is.
like the
It
longest
is.
episode to date.
I know. I wasn't. I didn't think it'd be that long with us chatting about it. I really didn't.
Yeah. Um, I just want to note something that I told you already, because of course
Yeah.
it is that if you are going to go online to try to find reviews and discussions about this, be prepared to be inundated with Murakami reviews for Men Without Women. And it frustrates me no
Oh.
end because I've specifically put those words in a different order. Please
Oh. Interesting. Okay.
find me what I asked for, not the other way around. I don't know why that bothered
Wow.
me so much, but it really irked me.
Wow.
But
I
anyway,
didn't realize that. Okay.
book recommendations?
It is book recommendation time.
What you got?
Yes. All right. I recently finished Nickel and Dimed on Not Getting By in America by Barbara Ehrenreich.
I have looked at that so many times because it sounds so interesting. Go into it.
Yeah, I think still relevant. So
Yeah.
Barbara sets out to write an article, if you will, about how easy or hard it is to get by in America working low wage jobs. And she is an older woman. She has a very established career. She's married. She's financially stable. You know, all those things check the box, right?
Mhm.
And so when she crafts this project for herself, she has three sets of rules that she is going to use as her parameters for this project. Rule one is she could not fall back on any skills derived from her education or usual work.
Mhm.
Rule two, she had to take the highest paying job that was offered and do her best to hold it. No Marxist rants or sneaking off to read novels in the ladies' room, she says. Three, she had to take the cheapest accommodation she could find, at least the cheapest that offered an acceptable level of safety and privacy. Though she says her standards in this regard were hazy, and it turned out prone to deterioration over time. But there were also some things that she was not willing to forego. She says, first, I would always have a car.
Mhm.
And she
This is
said that,
America. You have to have a
right,
car. That's like the worst
right,
thing about this place is you can't walk and there's no public transportation.
exactly. She also said that, um, second, she ruled out homelessness as an option. The
Mhm.
idea was to spend a month in each setting and see whether she could find a job and earn in that time the money to pay a second month's rent. If I was paying rent by the week and ran out of money, I would simply declare the project at an end. No shelters or sleeping in cars for me.
Mhm.
Um, then she says, furthermore, I had no intention of going hungry. If things ever got to the point where the next meal was in question, I promised myself as the time to begin the experiment approach, I would dig out my ATM card and cheat.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So she's got her parameters. And it was just really interesting as she's choosing these towns and, looking for places to stay and finding these jobs and going through these weird application processes to get these jobs, these random questionnaires, these crazy interviews, and then getting these jobs and really getting to know the people, her coworkers on these jobs, and hearing about their situations and all the things that they're trying to do to get by with these low wage jobs. It was really eye opening, and I feel like it's still kind of timely, especially as this administration is talking about like kicking people off of welfare, taking away food stamps and all that stuff. And it's like, ooh, how is
Slashing
this going to work?
Medicaid.
Right, because they think all you have to do is just go out and get a job. But when you read nickel and dimed, it's just not that easy. Just
Mhm.
go out there and get a job. It's just not that easy. And I think that what she's laid out in this book is still very relevant today for many low wage workers. It was just very interesting. But she has made it clear she is very much aware of her privilege, and her means, and it was a great learning lesson for her too. Walmart is mentioned in here. Just absolutely god awful in how they treat people.
Oh yeah.
Just god awful, and
They
like
always have
all of the
been.
like little manipulations about like the hours you work, especially like with waitressing and things like that, the hours that you work, and not getting paid like time and a half, just all the scrupulous ways that these companies operate and get over on these employees. It was really a fantastic read. So highly recommend Nickel and Dimed on Not Getting By in America by Barbara Earnwright.
And that's why you should have a union. Hmm. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of states that are not union states.
Yep.
And you can see like if you put up like a graph of just sort of like average incomes, the states that allow unions, I think like almost like 100% are like outpacing the non-union states in terms of like
Mm.
an average
Mm-hmm.
income. Like people just have like a
Yeah.
general like your regular life is like the income is just like a little bit raised, like just enough, like because
Yeah.
you have people bargaining for themselves. um that's going to send me down a rabbit hole, but yeah, I've always wanted to read that because it
Ah!
sounded like it sounds I
Yeah.
feel like it's had a resurgence in the last like 3 years. People have talked about it more.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because when was it written? It was written in like the 90s.
The 80s, I think. Hang on. No, was this 2001? 2001.
All right, I thought it was like the 90s, but 2001's
I
close
thought it
enough.
was the 80s. Yeah, 2001.
But yeah,
But
it's
that's over
really
20 years ago.
well because I think that it's so. I switched my books around so that we could talk about something. So this is thematically, this is on theme a little bit. But like I have When Women Ran Fifth Avenue by Julie
Ah.
Sato.
Mm-hmm.
See, I can't say anybody's
Mm-hmm.
names. So this is about um like sort of the rise of the department store, women in the department stores,
Yeah.
women run department stores. Um and sort of the shaping landscape of department stores, and then like discount stores, Walmart comes in here, all that stuff. And it's a
Ah.
really interesting like history of women and work and women being successful. And it sort of starts, you're kicking off in basically the 30s. You're in the depression, and there are these women that kind of, either by sort of happenstance or through pluck and whatever, they end up in charge of some
Mm-hmm.
of these really big department stores. But
Mm.
you also see the women that work in there, and you see um just how, like, times have changed so much. That was one of the things that really blew me away. It's a very interesting,
Yeah.
like, if you have any interest in sort of like business, fashion, women's, whatever, like if those all collide in your little head, I think you'll find this
Yeah.
interesting. Um,
Yeah.
but what I think is really fascinating is, like in the 30s in particular, and maybe up into the 50s, there seems to be this like ability for people to kind of just, I say, white people to just kind of go into businesses and be like, here's my portfolio, I want a job. Or like, hey, I need a job. Or like, hey, like, here's what I can do for you, and you
Yeah.
start in the mailroom, right? And this is kind of where that, like, that idea of, if I just bootstrap it, if I just go for it, right? I can do
Yeah.
that. That doesn't exist anymore. Like, it just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
exist anymore. And to read these stories, and you feel like it's like this made up thing, right? You're like, in what world is, and it did happen. It happened for a lot of
Yeah.
people. Like, even it had me
Yeah.
thinking about Ursula Perret, in The Ex-Wife, and how she basically, like, you stumble into like advertising, because you're like, no, I need a job, and here's this thing I wrote, like, give me a job, you got your cigarette, you whatever, and
Give
like,
me a job.
give me a job. But like, and like, you could do that if you were a white person.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, if you were a white person, you could do
Mm-hmm.
that. And as long as you like looked the part, and you seemed right, and you like felt right, and everybody looked at you and went, you look right, like, you could
Yeah.
do that. Like, I remember having, when I still worked in finance, I was having a dinner with this older gentleman who ran a firm, an investment firm, and we were chit chatting about like old New York and his time in New York and all this stuff. And you really could like start from nothing and grow and learn and get plugged in and stay somewhere for years and really like build a career. And
Mm-hmm.
you could go to night school,
Yep.
pay for it, and
That's the
continue
important part. Pay for it.
to advance, and
Mm-hmm.
things were accessible, mostly to white people, but things were accessible in a way
Yeah.
that we have moved so far beyond. And like, you can look back at times like this and be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
it was so nostalgic and it was so wonderful. um but you don't have the systems in place to allow for that, because
Right.
you can't be a postman and have a wife at home and taking care of 3 kids, living in like a little
Yeah.
place. um
Yeah.
there's also, like, they used to have things like boarding houses, like where like men and women could live, and you just had a little room and a shared bathroom. Like, you don't even have stuff like that anymore, right? So like, there's just nothing
Right.
set up. And I'm not talking about low income housing. Like, I'm talking about like when
Yes,
you think about
exactly.
looking, like, I'm talking about like affordable housing, like actual affordable housing that is safe and nice and well maintained, and not has not been made into some, this is where we put everybody that isn't working
Yeah.
hard enough, like, or whatever your
Exactly.
stupid party line is. Um,
Right.
there was some mentions of some black owned department stores and businesses, and of course the things that happened to erode those. But it was interesting to see those stories, and I wish there was more about those as well. I don't think it really
I'm gonna
fits.
have to check that book out.
I don't think it fits specifically in this book because of kind of where it was going and what it's really talking about. But that is another book that I would really like to
Yeah.
read, because there is that whole other piece that we either threw as many roadblocks as possible in front of, or ended up destroying if
Hmm.
they got successful, like Black Wall Street and stuff like that. So
Yep. Yep.
I'm sure there's a whole avenue of books that do cover that. I just don't know them and would need to go do some research.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think you would enjoy it. I think it's interesting to see how. there were opportunities, and that there were women that really were phenomenal businesswomen during a time where you probably wouldn't think of businesswomen being a thing.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah,
Yep.
interesting book.
I have seen that book and I would like to read that book. That sounds good.
It is good. And I think it fit
Yeah.
a little bit nicer than my other book I was going to recommend with
Yeah. Yeah.
what we're talking about right now. But yeah.
Wow. Who knew this episode would be an hour and a half?
I know, not me.
I shocked. Shocked. All right. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Um, join us in our next book for the TBR Lowdown Book Club. All details are on our website at tbrlowdown.com. Follow us everywhere at TBR Lowdown online, and share this podcast with a friend and leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate it. That's going to do it for us. We are out of here. Bye.